And welcome back into a brand new episode of Tribal Council Chat, a special episode we have today. As always, we are your hosts. My name is Bruce Heller.
My name's Brett Parnell, and like Bruce said, we have a very special guest today. Mike Turner is joining from Survivor 42, Hoboken, New Jersey firefighter, Survivor 42 runner-up, and like Bruce and I, big Major League Baseball fan.
Yes.
What is up, everybody? How are you doing? It's a pleasure to be here today. We are here to have some fun, right, Brett?
Yeah, absolutely.
We wanted to do something special for the finale, so we figure why not bring someone on who's been in a finale and been at Final Tribal and can give us some cool insights.
And took a beating at finale too. So let's remember that too. I've taken a beating there too. So I'm ready. I'm battle tested.
You made it there. That's impressive enough by itself to me.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
So, Brett, do you want to take it away from here?
Sure. So let's get into part two of the finale. We recapped part one last week. And at this place, I guess the first question that I'll bring up is that all players have gone as far as they possibly can once they get back to camp politically in the game. Now it's up to Flint and Steel, followed by shifting the power to the jury. So what's question for you, Mike? What is that kind of like, knowing that at this point there's no more votes in the game? You've made it as far as you can go.
Yeah. Well, the initial reaction is that you're happy and you're relieved. But then fear takes over and you say, holy crap, now I have to answer for my sins. Now I have to plead my case to the jury. And as a fan also, obviously you think about Final Tribal as the pinnacle of being on Survivor or watching Survivor. So it was very surreal to me. And quite frankly, when to my detriment, I probably relaxed a little too much, like, I got to the finish line. Really, and I didn't. I didn't get to the finish line. The finish line is after Final Tribal. So there's a lot of emotions going on. And it's a lot of reflection on your game, on your Survivor fandom, everything that goes along with it.
Nice.
So with your season, when I think it was Romeo wins final immunity, is there any part of you that's kind of panicking at the thought of going to fire, or were you pretty confident no matter what?
No. Yeah, well, for my season, it was kind of a consensus that they needed to get rid of me from, I would say, 7 left down. That's why Drea was going to steal my idol, and then Omar was going to use his idol nullifier at 5. So it was very important that we took them out. And then once we got to 5, it was like, me and Jonathan were working together a lot. But we had a deal. Once we get to final 5, all bets are off. We go after each other. And I'm pretty sure Jonathan also, I'm positive Jonathan also thought his biggest target had to be me because I was the biggest threat to win. And Romeo and Marianne felt the same way. They needed to get rid of me. So I knew I was going to fire. And if I had won the final 4 challenge, I probably would have put myself in fire.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Because I would have been able to pick who I went against. And I thought that was, and I felt confident in my fire making skills. I just didn't show it on the show, but I was very ready for it.
Amazing.
Do you know who you would have put yourself against?
It would have been Marianne.
Oh, wow.
100% I would have put myself against Marianne. And then to be fair, not that I thought she was a big threat to my game, but I thought she was the biggest threat to my game. I really felt I really felt that the jury it would have been hard for Jonathan and Romeo to sway the jury towards them as opposed to me. And not that I played a better game than them, but sometimes the perception of how you played is dictated by the jury.
Yeah.
So that's what I would have done. Yes.
Nice. Bruce, anything you want to add about returning to camp before we get into the Final 4 immunity?
Nope.
All right, perfect. So moving into the Final 4 immunity challenge, I found this a very interesting change and wanted to see what both of you guys thought about it, in that unlike past seasons where we see them alternating between the same few challenges, we got a very long challenge with multiple different skills going through throwing targets into the air, to puzzles, to endurance, all at once.
Yeah, this was really interesting.
Yeah, for me, guys, I was very surprised myself because, as you said, usually it's either an endurance challenge or I had some motion, and quite frankly, I would have rather had the challenge that they had than some motion because it's to me it's really quick, and maybe even like I would have had something where we, just were able to show all our skills in the game. The physical part of it, the puzzle part of it, the mental part of it. I would have rather. I think that would have been a benefit to me. But you got to roll with the punches. Whatever Jeff and production thinks you should do, we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
What were your thoughts, Bruce, on this challenge?
I like this challenge. I think it's a new challenge, so I always
Yeah, it
appreciate
seemed to be.
that. And I like watching Samotion, but like I feel like we've done Samotion as final immunity a lot lately.
Yeah, one too many, as I might think. That's my season.
Because we did it with Mike's season in 42. We did it in I don't know if it was final immunity. We did it late in 40. And we
Yeah.
did it final immunity in David versus Goliath. So I was happy it was something new. And like you guys said, I love how it's just such a wide array of skills, and a longer challenge makes it more interesting.
So getting into the challenge, we start to see where it's on more physical components at the beginning that Sam is off into an early lead. But Rachel comes from behind and beats him on the puzzle. This puts Rachel into a 5-way tie now with Chrissy Hoffback, Jenna Muraska, Kelly Wigglesworth, and Kim Spradlin for winning 4 individual immunities by a female contestant. What a historic moment to watch that.
Yeah. My note when she won was she just won the game. And I ended up questioning that later during Final Tribal. But I came into this episode thinking she can't make Final 3 if anyone else wants to win. And when she did that, okay, she's in the driver's seat now for sure.
I can't agree with Bruce more on that. I said going in, I said, there are 2 more challenges left, and counting one of them being firemaking. And I said, Rachel has to win one of those 2 to win. Whichever
right.
one she wins, and it only has to be one, she wins the game. And again, my thoughts were swayed a little bit watching Final Tribal because to me, Sam put out such an amazing argument. He countered everything that Rachel said. He was very, very believable. I felt he was speaking from the heart.
Oh yeah.
And so I do think though, Rachel, it was hers to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I said that on a finale recap for part 1 that coming in, like you were just saying, Mike, that you would put yourself in fire against Marianne. I was saying Sam needs to almost win this challenge and put himself in against Rachel.
Agreed. 100% agreed. And I think he would have did that also.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was talking like he wanted to do something big if he got the chance to.
And we even saw in...
I'm sorry.
Ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say anybody that won the final challenge to go to fire would have had to pick Rachel because she was obviously the main target. Sam wins the game if he wins and picks Rachel.
Yeah. And we even see a cut scene that they put out as a deleted scene on social media from part 1 of the finale where Sam and Genevieve don't talk about sitting next to each other at the end. They talk about going against each other in fire because both of them knew the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So after we get to Rachel winning, and at this point she's won immunity, she doesn't have to do anything. She's in the final 3 with an amazing chance of winning the game. We see the players go back to camp and are practicing for fire, where Sam is interestingly struggling with it. Rachel has coached Teeny into seemingly being one of the big contenders to win this challenge.
Yeah. You can definitely tell, and rightfully so. I came into the finale saying whoever sits next to Sue and Teeny at the end wins because I wasn't super high on either of their chances. But you can definitely tell Rachel is seeing Sam as a threat, wanting him to lose by coaching Teeny pretty much all day. And it looks like it paid off. Teeny was killing it at camp.
She was also killing it. She was also killing it during the challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not like she failed. She made a
Yeah.
great fire, and she actually got it started way faster than Sam. But sometimes nature takes over.
That
That's it.
Yeah, so let's dive right into that next. And good segue. That is the most exciting, I think. I don't know if I'd say the, but one of the most exciting fire making challenges. Just from the drama of it. Of at one point, I was wondering if it was gonna finish before Sam even got a flame started,
Yeah.
I
and
did.
he
They
ends
did
up
a pretty good editing part. You're right.
coming back and winning with help from the wind. But just such a
I
dramatic fire making
I
challenge.
wrote that into my phone that Teeny did a very good job with her fire. Sam did a great job once we picked it up with his fire.
Yeah.
But like you just said, Mike, with the editing department, I almost wondered, was this closer than we actually saw it?
True, and you don't know. We'll never know. But
Yeah.
I will say this: he said it was the most exciting fire challenge. I have to disagree,
Fair enough.
mainly because I was in it. Mine
Yeah.
was the most exciting because I was very excited about it. So for me, mine was the most exciting.
Yours was
Absolutely.
awesome too, for sure.
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
yeah.
why I
but
corrected myself and said one of because I remembered
yeah,
watching yours. But
yeah. And to be fair, his theirs was very exciting. And probably if you're a spectator, theirs is more exciting because it was so back and forth in terms of how far behind Sam was and where he came from to come back and beat you. It was
yeah,
almost like this is ridiculous. Her fire was literally hitting the string, and it looked like it was starting to, burn it through. And then the wind came and put it
yeah,
sideways.
Yeah.
And if you remember mine, I was sitting in Teeny's seat. And I had the same problem.
Mm.
And I'm saying, I
oh,
remember sitting there saying to myself, if this wind doesn't stop, I'm going to stand up, stand to the side, and block the wind from hitting my fire, and
oh
which would have made
wow.
it burn through. Which I don't know why Teeny didn't do.
Mm.
I
That's interesting.
I don't think I don't remember seeing anyone do that. Actually, that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, well, to me it made sense. I'm saying, and I remember if you look back at my fire making with Jonathan, and Jonathan literally was sitting before we went up there, and he was eyeing down which seat he was going to take and which was the better seat. And it's true, the seat Jonathan took, he did on purpose because it is the better seat because the person that's sitting in the other seat does block the wind and is susceptible to the wind. And that's what
Wow.
happened to Cheney, and it happened to me also. But I already had it in my head that if that wind blows that hard, I'm going to stand up and block the wind until I'm told I'm not allowed to.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
really smart.
Yeah, that is really smart. All right, so we just got into fire making. Now, like we said, Sam has came from behind and ends up winning based on the wind. But extremely close challenge, could have went any other way. And that has us go back to camp very briefly in with a final three now. So we have Rachel, Sam, and Sue. I love this new jury segment that they do. What do you guys think about it? Where we get to hear a few seconds from each juror prior to going into final and really get a sense of where people are coming from, but also allows you to watch for are the players who are up to win the million changing some of the things the jury's saying compared to what they said that morning.
For me, it's hard to say whether I like it or not, because of what happened to me. It's in terms of not having a great final tribal. It triggers me into like having almost like, oh, I can't watch this. So that
Right.
segment is very hard for me to watch because I did watch mine, and obviously I don't watch it anymore because it's hard.
Yeah.
They show what they were going to go after and what they were wanting to talk about. And so when I watch it, just like I get a little uneasy about it. So it's not a good segment for me.
That makes sense.
But I'm sure fandom loves it because it makes it more interesting. They have an idea what the juror's looking for, what he's going, what their thought processes, and then you go and you find out which way they go, and more importantly, you find out what the final three has to say about it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. My note from the jury that stuck out to me was during fire making, going backwards a little bit. The jury, a few of the jurors specifically, like Gabe, for example, were really rooting hard for Sam in that, and that's when I'm thinking, huh? I started thinking maybe he has more jury votes than I was giving credit for if he wins this. But I
Yeah.
think the way they edited this episode made it seem like the jury really liked Sam, both
And I
from
think they have to
firemaking
edit
and
that
this
way.
scene here.
I think they have to edit that way. I mean,
Yeah.
if we're being fair, it is a TV show, and the fans. You need it. If I'm sure a lot of people in the audience and in the fandom really felt Rachel was gonna win. So then production is knowing they're seeing it that way also. So they have to make it more interesting. So let's show the. And you got to remember, Sam was the underdog at that point. They started showing the jury because he was so far behind, and we
Yeah.
all know people love an underdog. And so when you see
Mhm.
somebody that doesn't do it well at all, and now he's coming back, because remember the whole episode, Sam doesn't know how to make a fire. He doesn't do well with fire. He can't get the fire. He becomes the underdog story just in that particular segment. So when he's shown losing by a lot and he starts coming back, it's a natural reaction for anybody to start cheering for that person.
Yeah,
Fair.
absolutely. And we've seen them edit this the complete opposite way too, where in this case Rachel wins, but we've seen Nick beat Mike White. We've seen Michelle beat Aubrey. We've seen Jenna beat Matt and Rob. So
You see
those
Mike Turner beat Jonathan Young.
that's true. So those countless times where that underdog story did end up getting the votes at final that really has us as viewers not knowing which way they're going to do this season.
Right.
Especially with a player like Salmon, we'll get into this in just a second, but had a extremely strong final tribal council.
On a separate note, before we get to final tribal, but after the jury scene, the final three did this like makeshift rites of passage, like we used to see every season in old school, where
Yes.
they'd like go down the path with everyone's torch, but instead we're just going through the boot list at camp. I love this. I miss when they used to do that, hiking through the trail and seeing everyone's torches. This was fantastic to me.
Right.
Yeah, I enjoyed seeing that too. Especially the one part that I always liked about that is it, frankly, even through the first few torches, it gave all the players who went through that whole casting process and flying out to the island and playing, even if they didn't make the jury, their 10 seconds to be still represented to join the finale.
Very true. I agree.
All right, so moving into Final Tribal Council, we see all three players really have one thing going for them. Should we get? I guess we'll get this started off with Rachel. We have the most to talk about with her.
Yeah.
Rachel used the jury seems to say played a very strategic game, used advantages effectively, won immunity when she had to, and overall was, I think we can all agree with, based on the votes, coming in as the favorite. We do see one question that I wanted to bring up where someone refers to Rachel's game based on past winners of Survivor, and I personally did not like this question that much. Mike Holloway and Ben won the game just like every other winner of the game. The point is get to the end and get the votes to win.
Yeah, I don't know if Andy was so much knocking them. I think the way he phrased it was he knew Rachel didn't hold them very highly and said she played a similar game and kind of was asking her to reconcile that, I guess.
It just seemed a bit bizarre to me.
Yeah, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
Bro.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I agree.
Her answer to it was great, though. It got his vote.
Very true. But overall, we do see Rachel know she's in a front runner position. She's able to defend her game and speak well and remain calm during this situation. What did all of you think about Rachel's end of the game?
The interesting thing to me here with Rachel was, and I've heard her say this in the after show, and I was listening to On Fire this morning where she interviewed on there. She, when Jeff was about to read the votes, what she was thinking to herself was, did I just lose this at Final Tribal?
Oh, wow.
She thought Sam had performed that well. I thought, I love this Final Tribal. It was an absolute dogfight from my perspective. I was not expecting a 7-1 vote based on Final Tribal, but I mean, I think she handled everything Sam threw at her really well.
Yeah, and Sam went in there with a game plan and he executed it, and he can always walk away from this, that final tribal and say, I gave him my best shot. There's nothing else I could have done. I have nothing to hang my head.
That's very true. And we'll get into Sam's right now, but this is a perfect way to move between Rachel and Sam's. One thing I had noted during that is Sam came out and was the most aggressive and had the best final tribal council, but was it enough to overcome the fact that Rachel was coming in with such a big lead? And in this case, we clearly saw it wasn't.
At one point, I thought it was, and it's just kind of one of those back and forth between them. I forget what she said. Well, he was saying something about her game being with idols and advantages, and she said that's easy to say when you haven't been targeted or something like that. And he immediately responds, bang, bang, bang. I got votes at 4 different tribals. I got more votes than anyone else, and I still had a perfect voting record. You got blindsided 3 times. Like Sam firing back, bang, 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 like that, refuting what she had said.
Yeah,
Perfect. At that point, I'm like, my thought was, he just might pull this off and win this.
I agree.
Yeah.
I actually said right during the middle of that to myself, I says, is he going to pull this off? Is he going to sway this jury and us as fans? Because quite frankly, you just said before, Bruce, I was starting to doubt if Rachel should win at that point because some of the points that Bruce were bringing up, that Sam were bringing up was very true. And I'm like, maybe we didn't see the picture as much as we thought we saw it. We just saw the flashy moves from Rachel, and Sam was playing this game and fighting for his life. Is that more important than being able to play your advantages and playing this little flashy game than not?
Yeah, and it's very true because there's so many different ways to play this game, and they all can be effective game strategies, even if they don't necessarily resonate as well on television.
Very true.
Yeah. So.
All right. So moving into Sam, I wanted to ask a question to you here, Mike. It's brought up because I see this debated amongst the Survivor fan community all the time, and I'm curious to know what you think as a player. It's brought up that Sam had a perfect voting record. Do you think that actually matters? Because at least the way I always saw the game is that the purpose is to get through every tribal and get to the end and get the votes to win, not the way I would say a baseball game where you have every inning that you have the chance to score a run. But I'm curious to know, now that this has moved from the internet and into the jungles of Fiji, what players actually think about the idea of voting records.
I can only speak for myself. I don't think it means much. I really don't. I think it might even be the opposite. I think that if you're not in the know and you wind up being good enough, not being in the know and not being in on every vote, that you do get to the end. You had to play skillfully to get there then. And then you also had to navigate at the end how to win. Yeah. So I think it means it means like, quite frankly, you could be carried the whole game and being on the vote because they need you as a number. Doesn't mean you play a great game.
Yeah, that's always the position I took on this topic as well. So.
One note from Final Tribal, because I wasn't her biggest fan this season, but I do want to give Sue a little bit of credit of dropping the age thing at Final Tribal as kind of a last ditch. It didn't do anything, but great idea at least. Like, that definitely got some reaction. If she had played a better game outside of that and then dropped the age bomb at Final Tribal, that could have been interesting.
But Bruce, do you really think that the players believe she was 49?
I don't know. They seemed really surprised when she said that.
Listen, I'm right now I'm 61, and I was out there when I was 57. So I'm saying to myself, I wouldn't have believed it. I would have said, so are you trying? You're only 49? You know what I mean? Like, I would have just been like, come on.
I don't know.
It doesn't look 49, but when she's talking about grandkids and stuff like that, I gotta start putting the puzzle together that, on Survivor, you lie about stuff. I gotta start questioning. And even if it's not to her, I'm saying to somebody else, so ain't 49. I don't care what.
Exactly.
She has grandkids. She's talking about life experiences. She's, when you're out there, you're talking about a lot of things, and you can put the pieces together.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's been a lot more too that just has nothing to do with the game, so we never see it. But there's
Yeah.
probably
And I never
extensive
thought,
conversations about like her flying career, which that isn't something that you can just get into quickly.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
also, I don't think your age is a big factor in height. I
No, not
honestly
at
don't
all.
know
No.
why people hide their age.
I
I
agree.
don't.
I
I don't
think
think it's a
she
big
dropped
deal.
that
I mean,
at
I was
final
out there, I'm
fight.
57.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can either think, actually, I think telling my age is older is better for me because they're expecting me to be a certain way. And if I'm not, that helps me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
True.
You know what I mean?
agree.
They're not thinking, oh, Mike's 57. He's going to want to be the father figure. He's going to want to tell us what we're supposed to do. He's going to want to tell us how to react. And when you don't do that, they're even more impressed by how you're playing.
That's true.
I totally agree. I think she dropped it and tried to use it as a move at Final Tribal because I don't really think she had anything.
Well, I equate that move by Sue as the same as Romeo stating he had a fake immunity idol on our Final Tribal. It meant nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when Marianne is able to reveal I've had a real immunity idol this whole time that no one knew about.
Yes,
Romeo's fake idol means even less after that.
I agree.
Absolutely. And I think a big part of that too is strategically, and like you say, Mike, that it makes so much sense to prove people wrong when you don't do those kind of things. Because
Right,
there
because
has
let's face
been those players that are older, like we see, say, with Lehman 38, or going all the way back like BB in season one, that have made those mistakes, but it doesn't mean every player will going forward solely based on age, therefore is irrelevant.
right. And the truth is, let's face it, guys, when we watch as fans and we see a certain person that fits a stereotype, we seem to think that's how they're going to act. And
Yeah,
when they don't, you almost like them more because they're going
absolutely.
against what their characters you think their character's supposed to be. And
Yeah.
so I thought that was more impressive. To me. So my game was more, I want to tell them my age. And then they find out, hey, I'm just one of the guys. I'm not this guy that wants to tell you how to live your life or tell you what you're doing right and wrong. They endear me more, and it means more to them. And the game socially comes easier.
Very true.
For sure.
All right. Anything else either of you want to add before we get into the votes to win?
No.
Good.
All right. So we, like you said, Bruce, get a 7-1 result. I found this a bit surprising too. Mostly because Kyle voted for Sam. I don't know if I missed that. Did we see the agreement during the show?
I don't know.
I know I didn't. What surprised me is that Sierra and to a lesser extent Genevieve voted for Rachel. I thought Sierra going in was the one locked vote for Sam, the whole going back the last 5 episodes.
Yep.
I agree. I thought obviously it seemed like, but the other thing is Sierra was voted out so long in the game, not days wise, but so long in the game.
Yeah.
You don't know. Maybe as the jurors came into Ponderosa, they discussed the moves of Rachel, which impressed her more. And
that makes sense.
Let's face it, even though we didn't see it, maybe Rachel's final tribal arguments resonated with Sierra and it changed her mind. Maybe her vote changed.
Yeah.
As we thought, maybe some of the votes for Rachel would have changed towards Sam because maybe it had the opposite effect.
Yeah, I was also kind of surprised that after Andy's question to Rachel being, you played very similar to winners that you don't rank very highly. How do you reconcile it? I thought Andy might have been a Sam vote.
Yeah.
So
yeah, true.
But her answer to that question was just what it needed to be to get Andy's vote. So
yeah,
and that's part of it, just knowing what each juror wants to hear.
That is exactly it. And you want to make sure that you're being honest at that point and speaking to what's true and how you played, but also presenting it in a way that's going to mean something to the persons who you're trying to get their vote.
Yeah, and also, like, going back to 45, one of my favorite New Era winner is D. Like, her asking Bruce, did you have an idol? And when he said yes, her saying, dang, you should have played it. I'm guessing that probably played into him not voting for her. So as funny as that was, I love D. Like, you need to be smart about it too.
and that's the thing with being in the final tribal is you got to walk a line that you're a little nervous to walk because you got to remember you get one shot at it. And I remember sitting there saying, you know, when they were questioning about my honor and stuff like that, am I going to fight them or am I going to try and go along with them?
Yeah.
And it's a very hard line to walk because whichever way you go, you can sway them to not vote for you or vote for you.
That's a great question and something that just came to mind as you said that, Mike. When you were sitting in final, did you really just try to go off of what you planned for the day, or were you really trying to move with the jury?
I definitely wasn't moving with the jury because they wanted me to say I was this mad scientist that was vindictive and that was what's the word I'm looking for? Wasn't who he portrayed himself out to be out there. Like I was this, you know, Kaiser Soze character out there, and I just wouldn't do that because that's not who I am.
Fair.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we talked
Even
about
if it meant $1 million, which it did mean.
We talked about how this final tribal was kind of a dog fight, and a lot of final tribals are like that. You've got jury questions flying. You've got finalists kind of arguing back and forth their cases. What are your nerves like as all this is happening? Like, how are you staying calm and staying focused amidst all the chaos?
Well, you know, it's like anything. Like, so I played sports. You know, I'm sure you guys played sports, or you're taking a big test. And whatever the case is, before you do it, you have butterflies, you're nervous.
Yeah.
And then once the bell starts for it to start, you kind of, that all goes away because you're in the moment. So
exactly.
In the moment, I wasn't nervous. Before it, I was nervous. And quite frankly, I thought I played a really good game. I thought I played a good enough game to win. So I was kind of confident going into Final Tribal. But that's Survivor. You know, you get so confident sometimes you don't prepare for the worst case scenarios.
Yeah. And
which is on me.
For the record, and I think I've said this on our show, I love Marianne and her game, but I've said like you would have gotten my jury vote. I loved your game and the game you played.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I played as honorable as you can on a game like Survivor because it's a game
absolutely.
Of speed, it's a game of lying, it's a game of backstabbing. It's the way it is.
Yeah.
I always say in real life, you're one person, but when you're playing a game, whether it be poker, whether it be chess, whether it be football, you play a game where you're trying to deceive the opponent so you can have the upper hand. And as long as it's not cheating, it's fair. And
exactly.
You know, the last time I looked in Survivor, you're allowed to lie, you're allowed to backstab. It's part of the game. I mean, listen, we play poker and people play for a lot of money, and one of the biggest part of poker is lying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's called bluffing in poker. But it's the same thing.
For sure.
All right. Any other questions you wanted to get into, Bruce, on the final before I bring up a couple things to wrap up the episode from 42?
Nope.
All right. Perfect. So start just a couple questions that we tend to ask all past contestants who come onto the show, Mike.
Absolutely.
Anyone from your season that you've remained close with since the game?
Well, the truth is, I'm pretty close to the whole cast. I generally like everybody. However, I have very close friends from that season. Jonathan is one of my closest friends in the world, and Jenny. Cool. Jenny and Jonathan are my closest friends from the show. I don't consider them, you know, friends anymore. They're my family. So we have a very good relationship. I talk to them extremely often. We do stuff. As a matter of fact, I just bought a house right near where Jonathan lives.
Oh, wow.
I love it so much down there.
Oh, nice. Do you have any favorite Survivor seasons other than the one you were on?
I gotta tell you, I love a lot of Survivor seasons. I love Hero versus Villains. That's one of my favorite. I love Millenniums versus Gen X. And I love Winners at War. A lot of people, some people are not crazy. I love Winners at War also.
I do too.
You know, I love returnee season. I love theme seasons. So
I think Winners at War gets knocked because a lot of like the legend fan favorite people like Rob, like Harv, go home earlier than anyone would have liked. But
yes, I agree. And I'm a big fan of Tony.
Someone you like is going to go home early, guaranteed. It's
right. And I'm a big Tony fan, and Tony, I think Tony fits the profile of a great Survivor player in many ways. He's strategic, he's social, he's funny, he's entertaining, and you know he plays the game well.
I can't wait to watch his chaos on the traders coming up soon.
I'm hearing it's a good one, so I can't wait too.
Yeah, that'll be entertaining.
Yes.
Anything you want to add about the season before I do one final, more non-survivor question, Bruce?
Nope.
All right. So something that I've asked another player from the same area, because Mike, cruise sometimes out of New Jersey down to Bermuda and stay in the Lincoln Harbor area. Favorite place for dinner in Hoboken?
Favorite place. So, okay, it depends on what you're looking for. So I'm going to give you a couple.
Sure.
If you're looking for bar food, Tenth and Willow is amazing. The best wings, the best sliders I ever had. If you want pizza slices, if you want to go get a slice of pizza, Benny Tadino's, 6th and Washington, my go-to place. If you want pie pizza, you go to 10th Street Pizza, amazing. If you want Cuban food, La Isla is amazing. So those are my favorite places to go in Hoboken. And if you want like an offbeat kind of place that has a lot of different things, you go to Court Street.
Nice. Al, great recommendations. I'll keep note of that. I always tell people best thing to do before I go on a cruise, stay across the river and skip all the tourist traps at dinner time, go to dinner in New Jersey while staying in New York City during the day.
And Hoboken has some good dinner places.
Does it ever?
Yeah. Those all sound delicious. I'll have to make my way out east sometime.
Where are you at, Bruce?
I am from St. Louis, Missouri, but I recently moved to a small town in Illinois. I got a pastor job, so I'm out here now, so Midwest.
Good for you, brother.
Thank you.
Definitely quieter than here. Definitely quieter than the Jersey crowd.
Yeah. And I'm in Ottawa, Canada, about 7-hour drive north of Jersey.
Oh my goodness. It's cold up there, right?
Is it ever?
And he just got off. Where were you on a cruise to? The Caribbean, and you came back and it was snowing at your house when you got back?
Yep. Came back from the Dominican, Bahamas, Virgin Islands, left when there was green grass, and came back to a couple feet of snow.
Yeah, that's fun.
Anyway, thank you so much, Mike, for coming on our podcast today. Had amazing episode of Tribal Council Chat. This really wraps up us talking about season 47. We'll come back with our friend Kevin to do one more episode on our fantasy draft and then move into the off season and into season 48 in the new year.
Yeah, ready for 48, guys. It's been a pleasure. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, keep tuning in every week. Grab your torches and head back to camp. Bye, guys.